So the message here is we are allowed to be different, and many times you're going to be different. And you're going to find yourself in this situation where you graduate from college, you go to a company that already have a culture set up, or even because you're Hispanic or because you're Asian and everybody else is different, you're going to find yourself different. But it's okay to be different. The message also is you don't have to wait until people try to pull you to the group. You have to go after what you want. And for that, you have to relate to others. It doesn't matter if you're Hispanic, Asian, white, it doesn't matter. You don't have to wait. So, this is a great experience. It was a great experience for me when I did it. I wasn't the duck, but it was like a lot of craziness in the room, and you were looking to fit in. But it's okay sometimes not to be equal to the others. You're still going to be successful. Okay? You can have a seat. Thank you for being sports. So, a few disclaimers here is, I'm going to share my story, but I don't claim that I have the recipe of success. Success can be, you know, if you see here behind my chart, there is a road. And the road goes from different sides, side to side. And that means that success has different routes, as long as you know where you go. Also, I want to make a disclaimer. English is my third language. I first speak Dominican, then I speak Spanish, and finally I speak English. So if you don't understand something, just let me know. And the last thing I want to say here is, I'm not here to motivate you. I'm here to share my story. Motivation has to come from you. Hopefully, you can appreciate my story. I say appreciate, not understand, because understanding comes from intellectual. Appreciating comes from the heart. So hopefully you appreciate it and you can do something with it and inspire yourself to do something. So I'm just going to get started with my career here. Currently I'm a black belt. Black belt means that you are Lean Six Sigma black belt, working problems, basically problem solving projects. That's what I do right now. I started back in the Dominican Republic. I did my degree there. I did 2 internships there. Then I moved to the States for my master's degree. I did an internship in Edison, which is a utility company in New York. That was almost a year. I was supposed to be there for the summer, but given the fact that I did that project that was 6 months long, in 3 months, they decided to keep me. And then, before I started my last semester in my master's, I was hired by Cummins. I became a field service engineer for Latin America, Eastern US, working with high horsepower engines. Basically, you know, a Dodge Ram out there, a pickup truck is like 4.5 liters. I was working with 18 liters to 95 liters. So a huge engine that can take half of the truck. On the right side of every experience that I have the takeaways from every experience. Then, the economy went back. And after 3 layoffs, I was laid off in 2009. For the first time, I found myself not knowing where I was going. I first graduated from high school, then I knew I was going to college. From college, I knew I was going to graduate school. From graduate school, I already was hired to work. And then finally found myself in a spot that I didn't know what to do first. So, but after a week of thinking and sitting at home, I started putting my resume out, went to National Grid, went back to New York, and I worked as a consultant there, basically doing analysis for models and knowing what was the capacity of the gas system in the Long Island area in New York. Then, after that, I decided that wasn't for me. I decided I didn't want to be a consultant anymore. I wanted to be alone so I can contribute more. as a consultant, sometimes you don't have that power within the company. So I went back to school. That was a risky move. Went back to school and was certificate. And to the day, I usually go and take classes a whole semester within GE. It drives me crazy because I feel like I'm getting old, but still need to have time for these classes and homework. But you need to keep yourself sharp. About me, Santiago is my home city. My family owned a private school, so I try to manage that as well with my brother and my sister. I'm a co-leader for the Hispanic Forum. Hispanic Forum is an organization within GE that tries to identify, attract, and retain, and develop as well Hispanic within the company. So I'm in charge of recruiting for that organization. And I'm also president of SHPE in Cincinnati. Why I got involved with SHPE is because if you put it in perspective, there's a pipeline, and I can explain that here, but I tried to get flip chart, but Emilia said that I was too demanding. She didn't want to give me a flip chart. And so basically you have a pipeline of talent within the Hispanic community. And I apologize for my drawing, that's why I became an engineer. I'm not a good artistic person. But the pipeline is leaking from the beginning. You know, you have people that are in elementary school, you have people that are in high school, people that are in college, people that are even in the market, and you're losing those talents. And the reason that you're losing a lot of talents in the Hispanic community is the lack of role models. If you don't envision yourself being here, it's difficult. You know, I grew up in a family that education was very important. We all have private school, but still, when I was looking for my master's degree, I didn't have a lot of information. I could have just given up and say, well, this is so difficult, I'm just going to stay home and work for my parents in their businesses. But I want to do something bigger for myself. So, in the long term and short term, I have different things. In my job, I want to get my black belt certification, which is something that is recognized by the industry anywhere you go. And then in the long term, I want to get my MBA, which is another master's for me, but I want to do still that. And hobbies, I'll salsa dance. I travel and work with that. And that keeps me, I guess, energized.
We're going to test that later.
Yeah, definitely.
Music, so.
Good. So, I want to start with this. This has been my career decision model. And I don't claim that I created this. I learned it some way, either from a mentor or a book, and I just put it together. So, there are a few things here. Anytime you're making a decision in your career, you're making trade-offs. Doesn't matter how good the decision is, you're making trade-offs. If you study economics, you know you have to leave something behind so you can do something else. And you have to follow your passions. But also, you need to understand who you are, what your talents are, what your strengths are, what your weak strengths are, and what your weaknesses are. And I mention weak strengths as a strength here because sometimes we need to focus. And for you to focus, you have to focus on the things that you do best. Sometimes you want to spend about 90% of your time in here. Maybe another 5% sharpen those strengths that you don't have 100% managed right now. And then the weakness, probably spend 5% on those. But learn to delegate when you have situations like this. When you do it here, you're making a decision for the business. The business has the need and you have the ability, but you're not willing to go. If you make a decision, you're making it for the company because it's best for your career and the company needs it. When you're here, you don't have the abilities, but you have the needs and the willingness. So you're stretching yourself. Usually, those jobs are the ones that you learn from because you don't know everything. And then here's the sweet spot. If you have the abilities, you have the needs for the company, if you have the willingness, that's where you know you hit it. Here, can somebody read this and tell me what it means to them? Marilyn?
I have no special talents, I'm only passionately curious.
It's that
Oh, it's not that I'm so smart, it's just that I'll stay with problems longer.
does anybody know what my group is? What is my group?
Well, first of all, does anybody know what green plantain is? It's not a banana,
No,
it's not,
no, it's not.
it's hard, green. Well, then you boil it, well, you have to peel it. And the peeling process is also very unique. That's true.
Exactly.
You have to know how to peel plantains. And then you boil it until it's like really, really soft, about like a potato when you make a mashed potatoes. You have to be really soft. And then literally you,
Smash it.
Smash it.
you know, smash it into a bowl. So that would be mashed green potatoes. And then you put maybe some water in it, some salt, and the best part, you top it with some
And if
fried onions on top.
you're Dominican, how many times you eat that? A lot of
I'm
times.
Dominican, I eat tiramisu, and I eat it at least twice a week when Walmart has it.
So I'm going to share a story here. When I first moved to the state, even before that, 2 years into my bachelor's, I knew that I wanted to go for a master's degree. But you always hear the story. It's like, it's tough, it's competitive. If you're Hispanic, most of the time you kind of underestimate your abilities. Most of the time. Especially coming from a culture that is a little bit shy, very like status oriented. You underestimate. You think that Asians are smarter because they use chapstick. Because Americans are smarter because they eat cornflakes. But we're not smart because we eat mango. And plantain is going to make you dumb. So you grow up with those things. And you come here, you find people all over the world, and you are afraid. You are terrified by the fact that you're not going to be as good. But what this guy is telling you here is that perseverance is an important thing. I may not get there in an hour like you, but in 2 hours I'm going to get there. But the important thing is that you get there. You have to change your paradigms in your head so you can get to where you want to get. There's another story here. In 2008, after I graduated from my master's degree in 2007, that was the last time my father came to the US. And after I took my job, my father called me one day and he had been diagnosed with cancer. Late November. However, he always said that it wasn't a big deal. He was going to go through it, we didn't have to go there and anything. I was by myself in a small town, Columbus, Indiana, 45,000 people where I didn't know anybody. My father passed away in less than 2 months, just 2 weeks after turning 51. I was the youngest in my house, so I was the closest to him. That impacted me the most. It took me a year to realize that he was gone. In all honesty, my mom has his phone, his cell phone. This year is when I changed the name from dad to mom. And I decided, after a year that I have been looking inside, and I couldn't overcome that, I wasn't living up to my dad's expectations, that I wasn't honoring who I was. So I decided to embark myself in a journey of finding what I really want. And at the time, that company that then laid me off, they had trained me in the 7 habits of highly effective people, which I didn't pay much attention until this happened. And I went and discovered this 4 fundamental endowments. And we all go have this. That's why it's fundamental. Everybody has it. I want you to think about a few things. Success, attitude, goals, creative imagination. When you're a baby, you don't know how to walk. You crawl. As your brain develops, you see people walking around you. And you envision yourself. You imagine that eventually you're going to walk. You start trying it by yourself. Then your parents help you. Same thing applies, and we forget that we can learn a lot from kids. Same thing applies for us. It's a system. Once you envision yourself where you want to be, you need to close that gap between point A and point B. The only way you can close that gap is by changing your behavior. Because what's the definition of insanity?
Doing the same thing over and over, expecting the same.
Exactly. So every goal needs a different behavior. So setting goals is very important. Otherwise, you're just like a ship without a rudder. You're gonna take your ship wherever the wind is taking. And you need to find out what is your purpose. But you need to imagine yourself. Success is unusual. Not everybody achieves unusual success unless you set your heart upon those goals. You have to breathe, you have to talk, you have to act, you have to think as that person you want to be. Otherwise, you're not going to get there. Then conscience. Conscience. Anybody like baseball here? Do you know what's the faster pitch ever recorded? It's actually 105.
105.
Chapman, Cincinnati. Yep. Well, I know somebody that can pitch faster than him, actually. And that person is my mom. My mom, when I was growing up, she had the chancla. So that thing never missed. Every time I found myself in a situation, I just think, if my mom saw me doing this, would she throw the chancla at me? If the answer is yes, I probably wouldn't do it. So what I'm trying to bring you here is that those fundamental endowments, you can relate to your Hispanic heritage. You can know what's wrong and what's right. Are you doing it because the society is pushing you to do it? Or are you doing it because deep in your heart you have principles that you follow? An example is our country, the Dominican Republic, or my country. A lot of people they steal the red light. They go to the red light because everybody else does it. But that's not right, because everybody else does it. So you don't have to do what everybody else does. You have to do what is close to your heart. Your principles, they're universal. They don't change. It doesn't matter if you're Hispanic, white, Asian. And that's what self-awareness is, knowing who you are. And then lastly, you have independent will. Independent will means you have the choice to make different decisions. You don't have to allow anybody else to make the decisions for you. If you don't make your own decision, somebody else is going to make it for you. And guess what they have for you? Not much. So, those are things that changed my life. I realized that I needed to find what I wanted to do, that purpose. I needed to fulfill that purpose, and I need to be true to myself so I can be truthful to other people. So, since we're engineers, we like formulas. This formula is what I use for my decision. I invented that formula, maybe somebody else has it, but I think I invented it. But anyway, decision equal situation, importance, times people, your audience. You divide that by your principles and by your purpose. You're going to make the right decision. Remember, if there is no purpose, it's okay to say no. Not everything that is good is for you. You have to say no to good things so you can do greater things. That always helped me make the best decision for me. And if in 10 years you're going to regret that decision, you shouldn't regret, because at the time when you make that decision, you have the best information available to make that decision. So, as I was going through my journey, there were 4 questions from different people, mentors, or even friends, that I kept close to my heart. They changed my perspective on life. First one is, am I moving in the direction of my dreams? Sometimes, we're not clear where we're going, but you lose motivation. And you asked the question before, how you motivate yourself. Motivating others is easy. Motivating yourself is more difficult. You have dreams and you have goals. The day that you have no motivation, you have to go and review your goals again, because then they're not your goals. You don't have passion for your goals, and you have to review those again. What if this was the last time? When my father got sick, before he died, he was going to chemotherapy. The cancer was so advanced in less than 60 days that they had to do 3 sessions. I love my father, but we grew up in an environment that we wouldn't say, he knew I loved him, I knew I loved him, we wouldn't say every day, I love him. But that day when he was going to chemotherapy, I told him that, you know I love you, right? Over the phone. That's the only reason that today I don't feel guilty because I wasn't there. Because I was able to tell him what I felt. And every time you face yourself with a different decision, a tough decision, because the right decision is never the easiest one. You ask yourself this, what if this was the last time? And you will be able to put things in perspective for yourself. If not now, when? We always waiting for the perfect time. But the perfect time is now. You're going to make mistakes. You're going to take risks. And you're going to have opportunities out of those risks. Sometimes you're going to fail. But failure is good sometimes too. If I didn't lose my job back in 2009, I probably would have thought I was perfect and nothing like that was going to happen to me. But I learned to appreciate when I'm in a good position. I learned to pass that on. I learned to pay it forward. And that is because I'm not waiting for the perfect time anymore. If you waste an hour at work, that means 250 hours a year that you're wasting. And your job is probably paying for that. But life is not paying for that. Time is the only variable that you're not going to get back. You cannot pay. If I gave you $10,000, you're not going to buy me $10,000 of time. And the last one is, if your life was a book, and you were the author, how would you like the story to read? One time I found myself, I hit my 30s. I was like, I didn't even think how I wanted to see myself when I was 30. So I came to the realization that we sometimes hit that point, that milestone, and then is when we think, what should I have done to get to where I wanted to be at this time? You don't have to wait until you're 40, or 50, or 60, or 70 to envision yourself. You have the power to write that book. Another aspect to this is, the world is a book, and those who don't travel stay in the first page. So go there, travel, get to know the world, learn experiences, and get to know people. And lastly, I have 10 takeaways I want to share with you. I have many takeaways, but I wanted to share 10 on this so you guys can remember. The first one is, no goal is equal to a spiritual suicide. Goals? What's the difference? If you have a man, if you have an animal, like a chicken, an elephant, a monkey, what's the difference? The only thing about a man that is a man is his brain. We take it for granted because it comes for free. We need to start learning to think because we don't learn to think. We learn to remember. We learn to react to stimuli. But we need to learn to think. Once you think what that goal is, and if you don't have any goals, how many of you have your goals written? You can imagine the power of having your goals written down. Because you hold yourself accountable. And if you don't have goals, I will make my main goal to find that goal that I want. And once you have a list of goals, things that you want to accomplish, cover those 9 things and keep that top goal that you want. Goal, one day at a time, one goal at a time. Because life is made of years, years are made of days, and you have to be successful every day. And to be successful every day, you have to be successful doing every task. Once you have that goal, your vision is big. You get a God-like power to change your future. And that only a man can do. Constant learning equals enthusiasm. Again, we learn from kids here. Why, as adults, we lose enthusiasm? Because we stop learning. You see kids are always happy doing things because they're learning. So, you need to learn and adapt so you can win. 13, if you quit once, you're likely to quit again. So, don't quit. You have to insist. You shouldn't be a quitter because what you think becomes your words. Your words becomes your actions. Your actions become your habits. And your habits are going to shape your character. Don't follow the follower. It's okay to be different. If anything you want to take away from what I'm telling you today, it's okay to be different. You don't have to follow. We play this game that we don't even follow the leaders anymore. We follow the followers. And we belong to a group. I don't know who I am, but I belong to X or Y group. Successful people follow independent paths. That doesn't mean that they don't get into groups, but their groups become smaller. Because you have focus. You want to get there. So, it's okay to be different. You need to learn and adapt, and you need to have your goal so you can win. You have an input, you have yourself, and then you have an output. If you do this, you're reacting to a stimuli. You have the power to choose. Doesn't matter how hard things are out there, you have the power to choose. You only grow while you are out of the comfort zone. Only if you're willing to be uncomfortable and be around uncertainty, you're going to learn. Because what you learn is what you don't know. If you know something, though, if you have, well, I want to go to Italy or I want to go back home. I've been back home so many times. Maybe Italy is going to be my thing this time. I have to learn something. So make sure you understand that you only going to learn if you're out of your comfort zone. Play smart, never safe. Like Joaquin was saying before, take risks. The best idea, you're only going to know it's the best idea once you try. If you wait for things to be perfect, the time's going to be gone. Your boat is going to be missed. Make mistakes, learn from them, and then do it again. People around you shape who you are to a certain extent. So you have to be picky about it. You have to know that, like I said before, successful people go in an independent path. And love the people that you have around you. You don't have to wait until they're sick. You don't have to wait until they're gone. Love the people you have around you. Connecting is about others. When you connect, a lot of people communicate, but not many people connect. Because a lot of us communicate our paradigms, our glasses of reality. We need to know about the other people. We need to learn where they're coming from so we can connect with them. Fill your pathway with steps. Be curious about the world. Every time I travel, one place I haven't been to every year. Every time I go out of the country or I learn about a new culture, I come here smart and willing to take risks and willing to learn about other people. I'm willing to have people from different backgrounds in my teams because that's what makes a good team. Lastly, but not least important, you've never seen a U-Haul driving to a cemetery. So we think that things are going to make you happy, but in reality, some people think 20% of the salary increase is going to make them happy. Once you get it, now what? We confuse the end with the means. So make sure you understand that money is a good servant, but not a good master. So keep check that you are being the masters of your money. And just to finish here, I want to share this quote with you. A man who dares to waste an hour of the time has not discovered the value of time. Out of here, think what you're going to do to change your life, to go hit those goals that you have set for yourself. And like I said, it's okay to be different. I go to work with my orange socks. Everybody goes with different colors. Mine's orange, or red, or green. I'm still the same person. I'm different, but I deliver. At the end of the day, companies are hiring people to deliver results. So enjoy your journey.
One question. First of all, thank you very much for choosing Kalamazoo as your destination of the year. We really appreciate it. You made it. You made it early in the year. The second thing is that you were mentioning Einstein staying with products longer, and then you're talking about insanity as doing the same thing all the time. So how do you conciliate? And those were both advice. So how do you conciliate those two things as a general one?
When you stay doing the problem that you have at hand, you have to do it different every time, because otherwise you're doing the same problem over and over and you don't get any results. So that, in a sense, they interconnect. So insanity is doing the same thing over and over. But if you stay in your problem, you're not quitting, but you're doing it differently every time until you get to a solution. So they're not necessarily the same thing.
Any other questions? John?
I was wondering, we as Hispanic engineers, we may always think about barriers, constraints that we have due to our culture. Do you have something that you can think of, like, because of my heritage, I was successful?
Like I said, being different is a good thing. You go to places, everybody's from one place, and then you're the only one different. Who are they going to remember? So you want to embrace that difference. In my company, I'm the only Dominican there. So they know who is the Dominican guy.
Who's the loud one?
Yeah. Who is the loud one? Who's the one who's over bringing the excitement and everything? They know. And it's funny because, like I said, I dance salsa. They saw me dancing salsa at a company party, and everybody, all the way to the vice president, they know I salsa dance. So little things, you embrace them, and they're going to make you unique. Don't try what I said. You have to learn and adapt in order to win. What that means is, you need to get closer to what you need to do but you don't have to lose where you're coming from. Your principles are still there. At some point, Kenton State, I still go for accent reduction class because I want to speak fast. But I know I'm not going to lose my accent completely. But still, I want to communicate better because I knew that at some point that would have become my barrier. But still, I am great. I'm in love. It's just a matter of me trying to be better every day.
Oh, yeah, that's another question.
Yeah.
Well, I have another one, it's kind of related. You already. But,
I talk too much about that. I answer all the questions before they ask.
have you named 2 or 3 challenges that you have faced, as a Hispanic engineer, and how have you overcome them?
So, one of the things like I mentioned before, the lack of role models in the Hispanic community. For instance, my company, they have in engineering about 190 executives. Maybe it's one of the most diverse companies there in the world. Executives, maybe 3% Hispanic. So you don't find a lot of people that you say, I can be that person. But you don't wait until they come to you. You need to look for mentors. You don't have to learn on your own, but make mistakes on your own when somebody else has gone through that. In my case, that job that I got last, it was an executive that pulled me all the way from the bottom here. I'm going to take a bet on you based on the work that you've done in the past. And same thing, when my opportunity comes to do that, I do as well. I run at the company, I run the internship program for Hispanics. And I try to serve as a mentor. And I let them embrace their Hispanic culture, but at the same time, they need to understand that even when you get different barriers, you don't take that as an offense because you're Hispanic. You take that as a challenge. And you go overcome those. You know how they're coming from. You solve your problem. That's how you get away. Any other questions?